Assassin's Creed is out, and a big shout out to Ubisoft for providing me with a key for the deluxe edition. Before you dismiss Mirage, stay tuned for my breakdown on how this return to roots, or so they say, actually turned out for Ubisoft. This review is going to be pretty fast paced, so stick around. This also marks my first review type content on this channel, and it's going to be spoiler free, so please share your thoughts down in the comments. Decades before the events of AC Valhalla, Mirage is a story following Basim, a thief who will learn to fight for a cause larger than himself by becoming a hidden one under his mentor Roshan. That brings us here in the Middle East in the city of Baghdad, which is actually done quite well. I would argue that this is one of the better parts of the game, as the map is a lot smaller, as this game was originally supposed to be a DLC for AC Valhalla.
Well, now it makes sense.
The small size meant that they could spend more time on details and structure, which shows in-game. While the map impresses, the story, unfortunately, just falls short. Despite my initial hope that a smaller game would mean a well-crafted story, it disappoints and feels stretched out. Character development and arcs are almost non-existent, even lacking depth in side missions which would help flesh out the world. Side quests do exist in-game, but they're more like small activities for consumables used for upgrades rather than enriching the world further. The story improves towards the end, but by then it just feels too late. Although the map looks nice, the actual gameplay world in between missions lacks the depth you would expect, further cementing my thoughts on a world without engaging side content or NPCs. There's literally no one to talk to other than the shopkeepers, and even their dialogue is small. While I appreciate the straightforward path from one mission to another, there were instances where the several minute journey felt disproportionate to the short and brief cutscenes you got, to then only run back to exactly where I began, which contributed to my sense of a stretched out narrative. The Watchpoint Towers offer convenient fast travel points, a feature people familiar with the series have seen before. However, unlocking them involves scaling towers with the parkour system, leading to my next conversation. While the parkour moves at a faster pace than the original titles, it falls short of the grace seen in Ezio's slow, deliberate movements or the visually stunning parkour in Unity. Despite its functionality, it lacks the fluid movement you'd hope for and occasionally feels robotic, though it does get the job done most of the time. Now that I've given you an overview, let's go into the game's stealth, something they get right. It's not just an option, it's clearly the main way they want you to fight, and combat becomes more of a last resort. The game is heavily centered around stealth, incorporating items and abilities to support it. Personally, I'm fine with this, and it's the first time in the series where the whole game is structured around making stealth a really effective and important part of the experience, which makes sense, you're an assassin after all. Luckily, the stealth mechanics are satisfying and well executed, allowing you to depend on them throughout the entire game without relying too much on the combat, which personally I'm not a fan of. Comparing it to a recent challenging game where you play as a puppet, this game's parrying was a breeze. Completing it on the hardest difficulty was surprisingly easy, since I predominantly use stealth about 98% of the time. The game offers a relatively compact experience, spanning around 15 to 20 hours. It lacks a New Game Plus feature. Regarding replayability, it mainly hinges on the story and optional exploration for collectibles and unlocks. Interestingly, there is an in-game store. You can even choose to pay for schematics on the map instead of finding them through gameplay. The in-game store also provides a variety of cosmetic options. The skills in the skill tree are assigned to one of three trees: Phantom, Trickster, and Predator. Unlike the trees used in recent installments of the Assassin's Creed series, progression was more linear and story-based rather than dependent on accumulating experience points. The skill tree is small and has unlocks for different kinds of things such as more potion slots, bigger eagle vision, and so on. Now let's shift to some more positive aspects the game does get right. The throwable items offer a satisfying experience when paired with stealth, often becoming my go-to choice over combat. Furthermore, the return of gear dyeing, initially introduced in Assassin's Creed 2, adds a nostalgic and enjoyable element to the game. Visually, the game is decent, and it runs smoothly on my PS5, especially in performance mode. However, I did encounter a few hiccups during parkour, such as clipping on walls and occasional feelings of off movements. Despite these minor issues, I found this entry into the series to be one of my recent favorites, which is entirely subjective, as I think I rather the linear feel. The emphasis on stealth makes it stand out, providing a satisfying feeling of being well equipped to embrace the role of an assassin. Overall, I extend thanks to Ubisoft for the key. I loved it for its well-crafted map design and setting. However, the narrative falls short for lacking character development and direction. The gameplay world feels empty between missions, and parkour, while functional, lacks that fluid feeling. Stealth takes center stage, combat is avoided, the 15 to 20 hour playtime lacks New Game Plus or much post-game content, relying on the story and collectibles for replayability. I have to give the game a 6.5 out of 10. This may seem high considering the things we just glossed over, but funnily enough, I had fun playing it, and they just missed the mark in a few key areas. I could honestly recommend this game, and I get the return to roots marketing, even if that is quite vague. If you like the review, throw a like on it. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.